Aloha and good morning, all my fellow patriotic veterans. I just read an article in Midweek magazine that was talking about the post-truth world. They could have been thinking about this article when they wrote the story. Let's take a look at it. This is from the Business Insider. The U.S. military plainly failed in Afghanistan. The generals need to answer for it. What a load of horse manure. There are so many cow patties in that headline, I barely know where to begin. To begin with, the U.S. military has never lost a war in my lifetime, and my lifetime goes back very far indeed. It's not the U.S. military that's losing wars, it's the politicians. You see, the military is only really good for two things: killing people and breaking things. The military was not given a free hand in Afghanistan to win the war, which they did, by the way, even with their hands tied behind their back. It was after the war was won and the politicians started corrupting things that the situation went south. You see, for those who remember, Afghanistan had been conquered by the Russians. Now the U.S. thought, well, let's give the Russians a black eye. So the U.S. started arming the Taliban with all kinds of goodies, like surface-to-air missiles, anti-tank grenades, a whole host of goodies. Eventually, Russia got tired with the losses, packed up and went home, and in came the U.S. Now, if you remember, the U.S. conquered Afghanistan in pretty rapid order. After the area was conquered, it was up to the politicians to do their job. But did they? Oh, hell no! The politicians have been busily lining their pockets, their families' pockets, and the pockets of the corrupt politicians in Afghanistan. It wasn't the military that failed. It was the politicians that failed after the military was done. Do you think I'm wrong? Let's take a look at one more news article. This from NBC. Taliban overrun first Afghan provincial capital since U.S. began withdrawal. There you have it. NBC admitting that as long as the U.S. military had boots on the ground, well, the Taliban kept their heads down. The second the U.S. pulled out, because U.S. politicians didn't do their job, the Taliban reared its head, said, "They're gone," and walked right in through the front door. Now, I'm not saying the Taliban is a good thing. In fact, other countries in the region don't think the Taliban is a good thing either. But that's a problem that the U.S. government, U.S. politicians failed to solve. You see, when political negotiations break down, the U.S. has a nasty habit of sending in the military to solve their problems. The U.S. government does not know what diplomacy is all about. They only know about gunboat diplomacy, which really isn't diplomacy at all if you think about it. Now, I was telling you that other governments in the region don't think the Taliban is such a good idea. Let's go to one last news article. This from Ground News. Central Asian leaders worried by turmoil in Afghanistan. Leaders of 5 Central Asian countries gather for talks in Avaza, Turkmenistan. Talks come as the Taliban challenges Afghan government forces. You see, the Taliban isn't challenging U.S. forces, it's challenging the Afghan government forces. It knows better than to pick on the U.S. Russian and Uzbek forces complete active phase of joint military maneuvers near Afghan border. Top Kremlin military officials flew into the region on Thursday to observe the exercise and hold talks. Now, here's a question. Once the U.S. finishes pulling out of Afghanistan, who do you think will take over? There are 2 very interested parties, 2 world powers, both having a border with Afghanistan. There's good old Russia, who sounds like they want a second go at it, and of course there's China. I'm kind of hoping they both do, and if they do, well, this will be more entertaining than anything that the entertainment industry has put out either on the big or the small screen in quite some time.